And I'm glad that you are organizing this event, this program, because we do the same for years now, and it's I think one of our most effective and most pleasing programs, because of course online is a different thing, but when you have such a meeting in person, it combines learning, it combines networking, it combines a lot of things. So I'm really glad that you are organizing this, and thank you for having me. Now, regarding, sorry, I just need a bit of water. Just a moment. My apologies. So, regarding the topic, I thought about it, and I was actually divided. Yes, I studied in Malaysia, but I didn't study, and I don't know much about Muslim youth in Philippines, in Cambodia, in many other countries where Muslims are minorities. I know quite a bit about Europe, but I would say that conditions in Europe are different in substantial ways, and I will mention that in my talk. So, simply to avoid talking about something I'm not really sure about, and also not wanting you to give you just academic stuff, I decided to give you a few ideas, if you like, to present what I think is important for you. And then I would like really us to talk, not just 15 minutes. I hope we will have more time for our discussion. So, may I share, I don't have to, but probably it will be easier to follow if I share 2-3 slides, but okay, I think I can, yeah? Okay. Yeah, do you see the slide now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So my first thing I wanted to share with you is the following. Now, we talk here about Muslim youth in minority contexts or a minority context. Now, what is this minority thing? Okay, what is the minority context? Are we talking just about numeric situation describing the facts, or does it give Muslim youth lives certain quality? And if it is, what it is? Is it advantage? Is it disadvantage? I think this is very important to be clear about in your minds. And as you may know, of course, if you think about minority context as a defect, as a huge disadvantage, you will live always with this, if you like, stigma, okay, of being a minority and then having a lot of limitations and so on and so forth. Now, there is no denying that being a minority, unfortunately, throughout human history, most of the time wasn't a good thing, yeah? But things are changing, and there are always exceptions, and we have to be subjects of change as well. So, I'm pleading here with you for you to make a mental shift, okay, from perceiving this majority-minority situation as one of, cast in stone and necessarily disadvantageous to the minorities, to the mindset and to the discourse of citizenship. I'm sure you're familiar with this. If you follow developments in Islamic thinking, you will know that we are moving from fiqh al-aqaliyat to fiqh al-muwatana. Okay? Of course, we need to understand what are the specificities of minority contexts, how to adjust to that. But there is nothing preventing us from moving a step forward and opting for fiqh al-muwatana. And I would say that we should go for this both in Muslims and non-Muslim context. For various reasons, Muslims have stopped using Ahlul Kitab and Ahlul Dhimma and so on, and Muslims are granting non-Muslims in their communities full citizenship rights, which is a trend, and for you it is a welcome, because then you can, as a minority communities, you can also point toward it and say, see, we could talk citizenship instead of talking majority and minority. In addition, I think this is very important, and of course, once you do this shift, then you will a lot of things come with that. So I leave it to you to explore that further. Now, even why this is significant, because countries where that is the case, which are opting for citizenship discourse, you will find that Muslim minorities are doing sometimes better than Muslim youth in majority Muslim contexts. I know that minorities always think, "Oh, I just wished I was in a Muslim country. Things would be better." Perhaps that's true sometimes, but just as of the moment, as we are speaking now, just think of your peers, colleagues in Yemen, in Syria, Egypt, if you like, and many other places. I mean, I'm not sure they are doing much better than you, on the contrary. And they are surrounded by Muslims. So you see, it's not about numbers. It's about freedoms and your rights that you enjoy or you don't enjoy, not just numbers. So what is the significance of this for you? The significance is that both for yourself and for the outside world, when you frame your questions, your problems, your issues, your situation, try to present it, to frame it within in the terms of citizenship. We are citizens of this country, and the situation is so and so. And we are citizens of this country, and we have opportunities so and so. Also, keep in mind that I know Muslim minorities are around the world experiencing a lot of challenges, and the outside world, if you like, let's say non-Muslim societies or communities are divided on issues in Islamic and Muslim. You follow, I'm sure you follow the news globally, but same must be in your areas. There are non-Muslims who hate Islam, unfortunately, okay, who see Muslims as threat. But there are also Muslims who, non-Muslims, sorry, who are open-minded, who are welcoming to Muslims and so on. So, and very often societies are evenly divided. At least that's the case in America, in some European nations. And we should not be just spectators, passive spectators in what is going on, because the way we conduct ourselves, the way we behave what we do gives, if you like, arguments to one side or the other side. Unfortunately, you see what happened in Austria the other day. Austria is a divided society. It's like evenly split between right and left. They had to repeat presidential elections last time because it was so close and they couldn't, and elections were challenged. So eventually the liberal candidate won. But you see, what this one person did is affecting the whole community. I mean, laws are changing, the political attitudes are changing, and so on. So it's very important for us, and of course, I'm not just talking about terrorism here, I'm talking about, I'm giving the closest example. Anything we do from success in education, in our professions, in the way we maintain our communities, do we fight each other, do we find ways to live, together and establish good relationships. People see this and they draw certain conclusions. Now, talking about citizenship, of course, we have to find, if you like, Islamic justification for it and arguments. And of course, in Islamic tradition, in Islamic thought, the common land is the basis of common national identity, where both majority and minority should have enough space to live. And this, as I said, should be the case both when we are Muslims are majority and minority. Yeah, we shouldn't be like mutaffifun, which Quran mentions and says, don't be like mutaffifun, like defrauders, when they take full measure when they buy, who take full measure when they buy, and when they wait to others, then they cheat. So I think this is very important. We have discussed this discussion everywhere, either in the case of Muslim majority or minority. We are somehow too often emphasizing our Muslim identity, which is fine for a lot of things. You want to marry, you want to eat, you want to do this and that. That's, of course, this matters. But there is no reason for us why we cannot join with non-Muslims, as Prophet did in Medina, in sharing a land, defending it, and be one community. You probably read this Medina Charter, and you're probably surprised with one sentence in it, which says that Muslims of Medina and Jews of Medina are one ummah. Okay, sounds strange today. This is what we are talking about. We are one ummah with those who we share land with. Now, is often a challenge. It's a challenging environment. It's challenge for your identity. It's challenge for for a lot of things, to find a job, to do this and that, to prosper. But beware that challenging environment can be good for your faith and for your professional achievement. Because without a challenge, there is nothing. You can't achieve without a challenge. And motivation to achieve is a greatest gift somebody can give you, okay? Because one of the big problems for Muslims is ghafla. When you don't care, and that's the case when you live among the Muslims. Very often, everything is okay. We are Muslims, so we don't have to worry about our spiritual development or anything. I share with you, and I apologize for being personal. I am almost 50 now. If you ask me when I felt the most proud and most aware of the ni'mah of Islam, okay, I tell you that was when I served in the Yugoslav army as a conscript, 1 year. It was not just a non-Muslim environment, it was before the war, okay? During Yugoslavia time, it was very anti-religious environment. It was still a communist army, you know, Muslims were few, and even those who were there didn't know much about Islam. But I tell you, that was the time when I felt what it means to be a Muslim. And I really felt proud about my religion and my faith, because I saw what human being is without religion, without any other considerations. Because, you know, soldiers they don't care. There are no girls around to watch them. There is this, and they quickly become half animals. Okay, half animals. So don't always take your position as necessarily bad. It can be very good for you because it is presenting to you a challenge. And one of the things you can do in that context is produce Islamic youth culture. I could talk about this a bit in European context, but I don't know much in your context. But this is what you need, okay? Because you need youth culture. You can't, you know, enjoy our ways of living and entertainment, and you know, so develop your own youth culture. That's a challenge for you. For instance, you cannot simply copy it from Muslim majority context, because it's a different context and things don't simply work. Now, completely different slide. You are students, I understand most of you. I see some guests, professors, and I appreciate their presence. Our problem today is, if you are a student, is that there is so much to take. Okay, there is so much on offer, and you don't know really what to do with it. You know, there were times when, as a student, you had a problem of, and that wasn't a long time ago. The problem for students was how to get hold of a book, of an information, of, you know, there was a scarcity of knowledge, if you like. And in many of our societies, actually, that was the case until just a few decades ago. I know that in Bosnia, when I went to madrasa in 80s, very often we didn't have textbooks. We had to copy from our teacher, from the board, what our teacher was writing, or to listen to him and write down. Nowadays, everything is in abundance, but then we have a different problem. How to select, because there is so much that produced, so much knowledge produced that, you know, we are drowning. Everybody is drowning in what is offered. So I see that in your program you have lectures on education, and I hope you are aware that education is your ladder to success. Most of us don't have family background that will propel us in life. We don't have riches, we don't have that. But Alhamdulillah, you know, God has given us our minds, and, you know, move you within 20 years from the bottom of society to the leadership position. So what are the things that you need really to care about when it comes to education? Because, as I said, there is so much there to learn. First of all, and I'm sure you're doing this, the fact that you are here tells me that you are already doing this. You have to acquire some basic Islamic knowledge, okay? Both for your orientation here in dunya and for salvation, because this is really crucial. Our world is so dynamic, so unpredictable, that you do have to have within yourself, you know, certain knowledge, certain values internalized, that doesn't matter what winds, what tornadoes in your society. I don't mean natural tornadoes, I mean cultural thought, whatever, come your way. You know how to orientate yourself, which course to maintain. And when I say basic Islamic knowledge, actually what I mean is more like principles and values, not detailed norms and regulations, that's for experts in Islamic studies, in Islamic sciences, let them do that. So you focus on maqasid and qawaid and stuff like that, because those are going to help you. Most of the detailed norms actually are not very helpful anyway in your context. You will quickly discover that, because they are often written for Muslims living in a majority context. So you will see that a lot of those rules and regulations are actually not very helpful. Now, what matters to me, I think, is that the real knowledge, or what we call ilm al-yaqeen and ayn al-yaqeen, is the knowledge that you have it, and probably I should say here, that filters everything you do and you think. And that's the kind of knowledge that you're sure about. Not some details that matters in one situation or two in your life. Knowledge that matters every day. Like, for instance, I was surprised the other day that I asked my students in the MA class. I don't know how we got there, but we were talking about Islam in Europe. And I asked them, okay, tell me what is the purpose of Sharia, the overall objective of Sharia. They struggled, okay? They struggled. Eventually they mentioned maqasid, but then, see, maqasid are 5 or can be 10, depending, they are not cast in stone. They fail to think the way Ibn Qayyim or Al-Izz ibn Abd as-Salam thought when they say actually Sharia is about maslaha and rahmah and adl and hikmah, and if any of what we are offering, anything I'm offering or anybody is offering you in the name of Islam is not those things, then it's not Sharia. There must be a mistake somewhere in the presentation. So this kind of Islamic knowledge. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time, time is running out. Second, you have to have formal education in a field. Okay, that's your specific weight. Okay, and that's obviously you need it for your worldly success. So you have to be a good chemist, a good engineer in something, in a good surgeon or whatever. I saw there are medical students here. You have to have that. Somebody calls it you have to be sharp, in or deep in one area. Without that, it's if you are just generalist, that's not very helpful, because your specific weight matters. Like in the natural world, if you are really an expert, have rare expertise in a field. When I say rare relatively is rare in the sense in your community, in your surrounding, and so on. People naturally gravitate to you. You don't have to ask them to sign a loyalty to you or to enroll them in a community, in an organization or anything. No. When they realize you have something in you, then others will naturally come to you and follow you. Of course, always consider this, especially this goes for humanities, social science, and Islamic studies students. If you can afford to do double degree, that's one of the best things I have done in my life, and that International Islamic University in Malaysia. Because really, unfortunately, both humanities and social science on one side and Islamic studies on the other side, in most of our universities are offering just one-dimensional education, and you are missing a lot. And only when you do both, then my feeling was I started to walk with two legs. I always had two legs, but one was not used, or I wasn't looking at the world with two eyes. I was just trying to look at the world with one eye. So those of you who could do double degree, that's a great idea. Of course, if you are doing medicine, it's very difficult. Don't do it. I don't advise that. I mean, it's too much. Simply two different fields. Of course, 3, you have to have language competences in your mother tongue, in obviously English today, and something that will give you, advantage in your region. Is it Chinese? I don't know. I'm just saying. that, you know, in Europe it's German. Everybody almost speaks English, but few people know that in the European Union, actually German is the mother tongue of most people. So that's the kind of thing, or if you want to deal with East and West, you have to learn Turkish or Arabic. So you are balanced and you have more. This is about having more opportunities in life. There are no guarantees in life. This is what we are talking about. Okay, there are no guarantees in life for anything. What you can do these years, and we are coming next to it, is, you know, you can prepare yourself to enter life in a few years with just a hammer in your hand, okay? Because that's how much you manage to do, to collect. That's how many tools you manage to collect during your education years. And then when you go through the life, as the English proverb goes, for a man with a hammer, every problem is a nail. Then you will try to resolve all your problems in life with that hammer. And I tell you, you won't be able, because sometimes you find a screw. And hammer is with the screw, you can do. You can probably deal with a screw with a hammer, but you're going to create a lot of dust, a lot of noise. And I experienced that in my house, okay, with one guy who came. Instead of this one hammer, you can aim at collecting a number of tools, screws, hammers, drills, I don't know what. And then as you go through the challenges of life, you just look at the challenge and you see, okay, this I have here. And sometimes you have a tool that, you know, you only need once in a while. That's good. You know, when nobody else has a tool, you solve the problem, you win the day. So think of it that way. These years now that you are in, you are collecting tools that you will need along the road. Of course, then under four, you need some generic communication and management skills. Doesn't matter who you are, what your profession is, where you are, you need to know some basic communication skills, ICT skills, some basic finances, for instance. You need that. You have to, and this is, you get it, you learn it in student organizations, you learn it in your mosque, you learn it, you know, you pick up those in NGO sector, in civic society, you know, humanitarian doing things. You need that. Of course, you need some general literacy, like you have to read, if you know in your language, or some classics in your language, some classics in Filipino or Cambodia, you have to read those novels or whatever simply because they are, you know, on everybody's minds. So you have to be able to communicate with people when you know that. And of course, finally, it's not about education, but it's something you do while you educate yourself, is networking. Networking was always important, but these days it's more important than ever. And of course, I'm not telling you network with anybody, network with crooks, and no. Unfortunately, if you network like that, you're gonna be mafia, organized criminals. We don't want that. I suggest you network with like-minded people, with principled people. You end up within a network of principled friends who will stop you if you are doing wrong, and who will encourage and support you if you are right. And in today's world, the networks are some of the best assets you can have. Okay. Now, how do you do everything that you have to do? I'm sure I'm not the only one telling you have to do this and that and that. You know. I have a table, but I think it can be misleading, so I left it. I can show you briefly just to enable you to follow me. You know, there are things in life that you can do in sequence, okay, one after the other. But there are other things that you have to do simultaneously because they cannot wait. There are things that cannot wait in life. You know, Your health cannot wait. Your spirituality cannot wait. Your family cannot wait, because your father and mother might be gone by the time you say, okay, now I have time for you. So you see, there are, if you look at the last three columns, for instance, family, health, faith, that's something you have to do, doesn't matter your age. If you are 19, if you are 70, you have to take care of those three things. However, if we are talking about learning, your capacity to learn and expectations from around you differ as the time goes. So now people expect you to learn first and foremost. If you are, undergraduate students, you have to do learning. You have to actually, first of all, you're most capable of learning now. And second, people expect you that, okay, this is the time for him or her to be taking from us, to receive. And if you say, when you are 35, you say, oh, I need 4 years to go learn, people tell you, well, we thought it's time for you to give now, to give back, to family, to community, so there is time for everything. And as one saying goes, if you are not revolutionary in your 20s, then there is something wrong with you. But also, if you are revolutionary in your 50s and 60s, there is something wrong with you. So be patient and know when certain things should take place. So learning is now. This is your priority. Probably those who continue to masters and PhD until 20s, and then you shift your attention from learning to working and to earning. As for working and earning now, only if you have to. I know some of us must work. That's fine. We then work, but we just work as much as we have to. Don't get carried away with the little money you earn now. You will be earning much more if you just complete your education. The marriage is something that, of course, you can go into. Some of you might have, it can be delayed a bit, but don't delay it to 30s and 40s. Then it becomes a problem. Of course, I know everybody has his own condition and her own condition, and this is general talk we are talking. There are always exceptions. There are people who will never get married, and that's not the end of the world. Everybody knows his condition, but we are talking about average and normal conditions. And then, of course, a big issue always for young people is, how much do I give to my community and how much do I give to wider society? I myself, it's a very context-sensitive question. You have to deliberate it. But, I would imagine, for instance, when it comes to wider society, okay, now you are probably not yet ready. Wait, there will be times when you will be able to give to your wider society, when you are settled and established and so on. As for your community, there are things youth has to do. So you have to do it. You have to help your community. But please, 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 be aware that at least this is the position of scholars, Muslim scholars. There are in lives, there are wajibat, there are fara'id, the things we must do, and there are nawafil. There are sunan and so on. There are things which are recommended to us. The best way to succeed both in this world and hereafter is to do your fara'id. So your fara'id are the education at the moment. You will do your nawafil, inshallah, when the time comes. Some final concluding thoughts. I'm sorry, I took almost 40 minutes. As you go, beware of half scholars. I'm saying this because I know, I have experienced it. There are people who speak in the name of Islam or Islamic history these days who are half scholars. And by half scholars, I'm not saying that they are not knowledgeable in the sense that a lot of insight into the literature and information and so on. By half scholars in minority context, I mean people who don't have proper knowledge of either text or context. They have to combine, okay? If you are a majority Muslim, living in a majority Muslim country, you are secure. You can make, you have luxury of making mistakes, okay? You claim things that you are not, that you haven't thought properly. Okay, you are living in a Muslim majority context, so you can afford to be mistaken. But if you're in a minority context, things can be really precarious. So beware of those people. Second, aim high. We Muslims, we aim high. We want to be the leaders of the world and so on. But you know, don't feel ashamed. Don't feel inhibited from requesting assistance when you have difficult days, when you have difficult times. Okay, we're just humans. So I'm saying you this because I have seen Muslim youth suffer. They encounter problems. Okay, all types of problems. Some of those problems they can deal with themselves, by themselves. Some families help them out, but sometimes you need a professional assistance from a psychotherapist, from, you know, don't you think that, oh, this is like I'm not good Muslim enough if I seek that type of assistance? No, that's just fine. That's just fine, because we are talking, it's basically advice, okay? It's basically advice, so you're going to somebody who knows. People used to go to the prophet, but we don't have prophets these days, so you have to go to somebody to share your problems with. Second last thing I want to say is, I know that many Muslim youth are not happy with what we bald people and grey people have done for you so far, and I understand. I agree with you. I hope you will do better, and there is a lot that needs to be reformed and reconstructed and you know, probably disposed of. But I'm just pleading that young people, before they build a new house, they don't destroy old one, because old one might not be the ideal, but it's still a house and it can provide you some shelter, you know. If you first destroy and then you start thinking, okay, what do we do now? You might get in trouble. Animals might attack you. You know, weather conditions might change and so on. So while we are all thinking about how the situation you are in could be framed differently in Islamic terms, before you say, okay, all these old books out, and we throw and we start cursing our previous generations of scholars and Muslims, we first try to figure out whether we have a better solution. If not, then we have to, you know, be self-critical, be critical, but still we have to keep those old solutions. And finally, as young people, you will always question yourself, and I'm sure most of you will question yourself along the road, and times come, challenging, difficult times come. You wonder whether you are doing the right thing, whether, you know, the key is to talk to each other. You have to be together, okay? You can't really figure out everything for yourself, and if you are alone, sometimes you come to a conclusion that is really unsubstantiated, you know. So stick together, and then when you are together, when you do your shura, then, you know, stay the course despite missteps here and there, and don't rush to conclusions. You know, you studied the issue, you studied the situation, and you decided that you have to do a certain thing, and then after a while you get disheartened because things are not developing as you expected. I mean, don't rush to those conclusions. There are so many people, leaders in the Muslim world, in the Muslim communities, who have succeeded, but if you judge them just 5 years ago, you would say they are losers. Because they're really losers. They were in jail, they were here and there, nobody knew about them, nobody knew about their suffering, and then overnight things change. So the other day I was just accidentally watching Arnold Schwarzenegger's story. You know, when he came from Austria. Austria today is a country where people go to find shelter and so on. But he, after Second World War, he ran away from Austria because that was a very, very poor country. There was nothing there. And when he came to America, he tells his story, how people told him, no, 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 and he persisted and he succeeded. So don't give up. Don't give up too quickly. You know, stay your course and tawakkal ala Allah, of course. That's all I wanted to say. I'm really eager to hear from you. Apologies for taking so long.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmet. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmet, for your useful and practical presentations about what are the responsibilities of Muslim youth, what should they be doing in the minority countries or communities. One of the messages I remember and I learned from you is that to be a strong Muslim in this society, we need to be capable of our religious education as well as our scientific education, meaning that we need to balance our education in both dunya and akhirah. And within that, we need to be very patient with our plan. We need to arrange our plans. It's just like the arrangement ahead. I remember, being a teacher myself, I usually remember aim for the sky. If you cannot reach the sky, at least you can reach the clouds. So this is something to do with our arrangement in order to get further to our success, right? So together with this, another important message from our doctor is that we need to do everything with patience and dua from our God. Thank you very much once again. Now I would like to give a chance to our participants to ask whether you have any question to our Dr. Ahmet Alibasic. Please welcome everyone. Thank you.
Frankly, I don't expect only questions. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear about how you see your situation, because I'm not a guru to give you answers, okay? Just feel free to give comments, to tell me where I was wrong, and if I was wrong in anything. I didn't say much, so. Is it Kailula time?
I think there is a question from Rooney. Rooney, want to ask question? Maybe you can unmute and just ask directly to doctor.
Okay, I'm reading the question myself from the chat, if that's the one. Yeah, from Rooney Sally. What are the factors that you mentioned in the slide? Some Muslim minorities are doing better than many Muslim majorities. May you just justify, and what is your insight related to those matters, and what is your recommendation for Muslim minorities? You see, what I have in mind, I know Muslim communities in Cambodia suffered, Muslims in Philippines suffered, and they suffered. My community suffered. Okay, everybody knows about 1990s. But you know, the other day, there was this report from one of international organizations, and they were looking at countries with Muslim majorities and most significant or substantial Muslim minorities. And they're looking at their personal freedoms. Bosnia came the first. And I tell you, that there was I had a student from a Muslim country here who was teaching my children one of the languages. And when she graduated, she went back to her country, but kept coming back to Sarajevo. And we were chatting and discussing, and she said, I don't know, I keep coming, I like it here. I said, I know why you like it here. She said, why? I said, because of freedoms, you feel free. You know, you feel free, and that's why you come here. She said, Wallahi, yes. You know, it's a Muslim environment, but you feel free. So there are societies like that. You know, you go to South Africa, I tell you, it's a very tiny Muslim community, I mean, percentage-wise, but they are doing great. And there are other Muslim, communities where they're really doing as minorities, they are doing great. And people keep coming to Germany, people keep coming to some of these societies. Why? Because, you know, they are obviously better off, Muslims, and I'm talking about Muslims. They are obviously better off in those countries than in their own. Now, what is the suggestion? One suggestion that can be is that, okay, while we are focusing on our specific Muslim issues, we should also be partners, allies with others in our society who try to improve the general conditions of the society in terms of rights and freedoms. So we should be part of that larger movement, because that affects us. Of course, if this was Europe, I would tell you a lot about this. You know, in Europe, there is this organization called Council of Europe. It was the first intergovernmental organization established after the Second World War with the purpose of protection of human rights and freedoms. And if you look at how they see the freedom of religion, they didn't write that Article 9 for Muslims. But if you look at it today, and you do proper analysis, you know, it gives you a chance to live Islam like 90%, 95%. I remember very well when we presented this, what it means in practical terms for Muslims in Bosnia. One of the non-Muslim members of our presidency, he said, but you're going to apply Sharia. We said, well, that's European Convention on Human Rights, because it gives you so much space, okay? And you don't have to argue for everything along the road. Of course, there are problems, there is no denying, but it's a different thing when it comes to 1, 2, 3 issues, and completely different thing when you have to argue everything. So one I mean, there are so many things we can talk about, but one conclusion from this is that the better the state of human rights and freedoms in your society in general is, the better your chances. So be part of that, you know, wider movement for improving the condition of human rights and freedoms in your societies. As you can see from me, it's all about balance. There are so many things to do. So the hikmah is to know what can wait and what has to go simultaneously, okay? Some things can wait, some things cannot. You cannot delay your marriage until 60s, but you can delay writing a book until 60s. Maybe better write your book in 60s than now. For instance, I'm just, you know, so it's all about when do you do what. Okay, any other comment?